You know that this episode is easily one of the most important episodes of the series, thanks to a few things that happened yesterday. For one, it was trending #1 on social media. Everybody was talking about it, you have people making memes of it, and on top of that, it's just like, in terms of storytelling, this is easily one of the most impactful moments of the entire story up to this very point. I mean, everything from the story for what's been going on recently has built up to this very moment, and the way the story kind of lays it out on the table, it lets you know that basically the entire plotline, all of Attack on Titan, was for this very moment. The rumbling, the awakening of the colossal titans, breaking out of the individual walls, and getting rid of Eren's enemy, Paradise Island's very enemy. It's a very emotional episode, and I'm gonna say, this right here, this episode, the content within this episode is some peak content. Like, it is, hands down, I would personally say, one of the best episodes of the entirety of the Attack on Titan anime thus far. And the reason for it is because the storytelling, it's, like I said, it's been building up for this very moment that happened in the episode, to just Eren's declaration of saying, I will get rid of my enemy, if no matter the cost, I will get rid of them. And then also how Ymir, this mysterious figure that has been built up for a long time, we've heard her name mentioned constantly throughout the story for a very long time. We've even had characters that have acted like they were Ymir, but really weren't. And so when you see the actual identity of Ymir, and see just how a sad, broken girl she is, it really just hits you. And it makes you understand Eren's motivation, and it makes you look at the entire story very differently from what we saw from, Ymir's overall mind. So let's talk about that. One of the biggest aspects of Attack on Titan, at least when it came to the post-time skip, we had the stuff where we were always wondering, what is the true history? Like, is the Eldians telling the truth? Is the Marleyans telling the truth? Who is really telling the accurate history? That has always been one of the biggest conversation topics in the Attack on Titan fandom. And when you see, the actual reason, the origin story of Titans itself, where they came from, who was the first founding Titan, everything, you realize how inaccurate both sides were. Ymir was a slave. She was a girl that was enslaved, and she had her tongue even cut out, which is just horrific. And obviously we didn't actually get to see it for censorship reasons, etc., but it's clear as day what happened to Ymir and everyone else that was enslaved. They literally were forced to have no tongue. They couldn't speak what they wanted or say what they wanted. They were literally just slaves. And once again, I want to point something out. Throughout the entire story of Attack on Titan, it's always been led to believe that the Eldians are the main enemy, and then the Marleyans are, also the enemy of the Eldians, etc. They're always going back and forth. But when you see Ymir, the first Titan, she was a slave. She wasn't an Eldian, technically. She was just a slave from someone else, and she worked for the Eldians. She technically wasn't an Eldian. And that just makes the entire history very murky between both sides because of just that origin point alone. But to kind of expand upon that, what makes it truly sad is that what her fellow people around her did. When one of the livestock animals got out, the ruler in question's like, okay, who did that? Like, who let the animal loose and all that? And obviously, he's like, if one of you don't come forward, you all will lose an eye. And they all know that the ruler definitely is meaning business because they literally have no tongue. So, because they have no voice, because they can't really speak up for themselves, the only thing that they could do was just point. And obviously, soon as someone decided to point at another person, everybody was going to join in because they didn't want to lose an eye. And so the poor young girl Ymir was the one that was the outcast, betrayed by her own people, literally by life itself, and pretty much forced to die. Now, obviously, her fate didn't end there. As she ran through the woods taking arrows, she stumbled upon a tree. And this is something that is very amazing by the storytelling, and something that Attack on Titan to this very point hasn't actually tried to hide. It hasn't tried to hide the fact that it is very embedded with Norse mythology. There is a lot of Norse mythology in Attack on Titan. I mean, Ymir is a good example, basically the Lord of the Frost Giants. We've had stuff with Titans itself, basically kind of representing Frost Giants. I mean, we have seen many examples of Norse mythology play a huge part with Attack on Titan. And when you look at, let's say, the coordinate inside of the dimension, the past dimension that, Eren's currently at, it looks like a world tree. That's exactly what it looks like. And so when you see the tree that, Ymir walks into, it looks like also the world tree. It's a smaller version, but it looks like a world tree. She walks inside, and she falls down a pit, and she meets something questionable. You don't really know what it is. The creature in of itself is alien looking. It looks like a parasite. It looks like something that changed her for good. You can even declare it as maybe a god. And that's what really ascends Ymir into a different realm. She becomes a literal god. Because when she raises from the world tree and she becomes the first Titan, nobody knows how to react to her because it's overwhelming power. She demolishes anyone around her. And obviously what makes the entire situation so despicable is that the king still, despite everything that he did, trying to kill her and all that, he's like, oh, Ymir, my slave, get rid of my enemies. And it's so messed up because the girl was obviously not mentally well. She was someone that was forced from a very early age to do what she could do to survive. She just wanted to live. I mean, the whole act of her running from the woods from the arrows itself just proves that she did not want to die. And so she followed this king because she did not want to die. Despite having this overwhelming power, despite having this power that could easily snuff out anyone around her, she was still technically a slave to the ruler of the Eldian Empire. And it really hits you. It makes you think about the entire circumstances and the life she lived. She wasn't a free person by any means, and she wasn't someone that was ever able to make decisions. And just as how we heard stories that Titans were able to make mountains, like move mountains, they were able to make roads, infrastructure, they also were used in a way to destroy other opposing factions. I mean, we saw both sides. So technically, the Marleyans and the Eldians were accurate with their information, but obviously they didn't know the full story, like Ymir and what Eren has currently saw with this episode. So there is a lot really to unbox when it comes to the overall story, the plot that was revealed before our very eyes, because Ymir, it's sad. Her entire life story is just literally depressing. Like, we think that Grisha's life is sadness, we think that Reiner's life is sadness, but imagine having your entire bloodline pretty much enslaved, and then distorted to the point that people think you're an Eldian when you're actually just a slave. And I mean, what the ruler did in of itself to Ymir's children is just outright disgusting. And so, let's talk about all that. Let's just take a few moments to really just talk about what happened and how she died, etc., and just how impactful that is. We have all seen it for ourselves up to this very point while watching anime that Titan shifters or regular Titans, they are capable of regeneration, like hyper regeneration. Obviously, it can slow down depending on how many times they've regenerated, but they do have hyper regeneration. And when you look at this episode, Ymir should obviously be able to hyper regenerate. She should be able to come back from almost any wound. I mean, we know for a fact technically being stabbed in the heart shouldn't have been able to kill her. We've seen, Reiner survive more impossible odds than that. So when you see her hit the ground after being stabbed with a spear through the chest, and the ruler's like, Ymir, I know you can heal from this, get up, but she doesn't. What is really going on there is that she gave up on life itself. And this plays a part with Reiner's story. Think about Reiner. Reiner we have seen already multiple times just from this season, to where if he really wanted to die, like fully wanted to give up, he could let go of his regeneration, his hardening ability, and he could die. And that's the big point here, is that Ymir could have regenerated. She could have kept living, but because of all the despicable things of the war, the conflict, and everything, and seeing what was going to happen to her children, she wanted to die. And so she took her chance. She died. And because of that, more despicable tragedies happened after that, and Ymir, that thought she finally escaped, was trapped even more so. She was sent to the past dimension to now not just, live in the afterlife, but she was building the very Titans that her, children would turn into. For instance, when she was carrying the bucket and she was going up the ramps and she was pouring it to make the faces of the different Titans, it was representing that every time someone Titan shifted, she was someone that would craft the Titans and make them for them to shift into. That's what she was doing. And that really just hits you, because now when you see, let's say, these crazy fights in the story with Titans going at each other, she's literally watching her children kill each other. That's what she's watching. She's building titans to literally go at each other, and when they're constantly taking damage and they reform very quickly, you gotta imagine how much time it takes to rebuild something of that size by herself with a bucket. So, like I said, the entire backstory of Ymir is incredibly emotional because of what it really unveils about everything up to this very point, and how she gave up. You could even say because of the way she died represented and set in stone how long Titan Shifters probably could live. And also getting to see how the whole section of, eating someone basically is how you get this Titan shifting power. What, happened to Ymir and her children. And that's something that really needs to be talked about. The king, what he forced upon his 3 children and Ymir's children was disgusting. I think everybody can agree what he did. Basically, he's like, oh, feast my children on your mother. And it's just like, what? Like, it's disturbing. And it kind of started the whole tradition of passing on Titan shifting abilities, and we just get to see the whole start of this ceremony and how horrific it really was. Like, imagine those 3 having to do that to their mother. That, I don't even want to begin. That's awful. That's horrific to think about. So, like I said, when it comes to the overall plot of Ymir, she's a girl that's just been trapped for so long. Like, time has ceased to basically exist for her at this point, and Eren offers her a way out. Basically, I will handle it, give me your hand, let's do this, let's be done with this. Let's just have one side completely annihilated and we can finally move on from all of this. And that's the main goal, or the message that this episode tries to present to you. It's a very beautiful episode because it shows the struggle that's been going on behind the scenes, this lone struggle that someone that technically you would assume would have so much power, someone that was deified in the history of the Marleyans and the Eldians, was just a slave all along. And Eren wants to be able to undo those shackles for someone to actually do what they want. And Zeke is a good representation of this. Zeke may have good intentions. He may be someone that wants to do good, but he is just like any other, ruler of the royal bloodline. He is someone that is just taking advantage of Ymir, taking advantage of her abilities to be able to get what he wants. And that's what's always happened. And maybe you could say Eren's doing it to a certain extent, but overall the emotions, he understands what she's going through, and he wants her to be free. So yeah, it's a lot to think about. It's a really good episode of Attack on Titan. Very thought-provoking, and easily one of my favorite, episodes of the entire story, and one of my favorite moments of the entire manga. It's crazy. Like, the amount of detail and all the setup that's been done in the series to this very point, it's breathtaking. There's a lot you could really analyze. Like, you could sit down and analyze the different stuff that happened in the episode and the manga chapter for hours. There is so much content, so much symbolism that is just mind-blowing. And that doesn't even get into the fact of how beautiful the episode was with Studio Mappa's artwork. Like, what they put in to this episode is what blows my mind. Like, the transition sequence of seeing Eren turn into basically the founding Titan / attack Titan and marching with the colossal Titans. That's crazy. It looks incredible, and words cannot even begin to describe how beautiful the animation and art actually looked. So yeah, it's just, like I said, it's a good episode, and it makes a lot of sense why, it was trending #1. It's an episode that really explains a lot with the story. But I guess I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you so much for everyone that tuned in and watched this video and, enjoyed my content or enjoys my content. I do appreciate that. And if you enjoyed this video, then please leave me a like. And if you want to get notified for whenever I upload a video, please click that bell icon down below. And subscribe if you want more of my content to appear in your YouTube feed. But with that, guys, be safe, stay healthy, Chibi out.